So the Minnesota Vikings went 10-6 last year, losing in the second round of the playoffs last year to the 49ers, who, by the way, were running the ball against everybody very well last year, and I mean that's just how it goes. Except when we got to the Super Bowl, they just couldn't finish it up. Sorry, Kyle Shanahan had to make a comment. Anyway, but we're not going to cover that. We're actually going to cover the Vikings 2020 schedule this year. 10-6 last year. What does that mean for them this year? We're going to get into it. But first, we're going to get into you guys subscribing down below, leaving us a comment and a like as well. It helps people find the show. So please leave a like and a comment as well. I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk again here. Just to kind of let Vikings fans know, I'm hoping and praying, and I'm assuming that the Vikings will bring back Dalvin Cook on an extension next year, which, by the way, we'll get into tomorrow for episode 41, with Tristan and everything. So, this predictions are with Dalvin Cook starting at running back. And even though, if Dalvin didn't start, like if the Vikings didn't get contract negotiations and didn't get him extended, and he in fact sat out the entire year, I would still be okay with it. I still feel like the Vikings have some good backs. But anyway, let's get into the Vikings 2020 schedule predictions. Week 1, Packers at home. This one was a toss-up for me because I feel like this could go either very good or either very horribly. There's no in between, especially if you're a Vikings fan. But me being, I actually tried to do this very objectively, even though it's very hard because gotta love the Minnesota Vikings. Week 1, though, I went with the win against the Packers at home because the Vikings historically play pretty well at home, and I feel like the Vikings could take care of business week 1 against the Packers, starting them off 1-0. Week 2 at the Colts. The Colts are a very good team in my mind. They're probably one of the best drafts other than the Vikings. 15 draft picks who basically took away half the draft. The Colts are a very up-and-coming team, and I just feel like the team that they've assembled, they're going to be a very good team this year. They're going to lose to the Colts. Might not be by much, but there's going to be a loss, putting the Vikings at 1-1. Week 3 at the Titans. Titans are a good team. Derrick Henry is possibly one of the best running backs in the NFL. Definitely in the conversation, top 3 in my mind. Even though he signed a franchise tag, and the Titans got Ryan Tannehill back as well, who really figured some stuff out last year. So I have the Vikings losing to the Titans here, only because I really don't see the Vikings defense as being necessarily a strength for the team, only because of the corners. Now, we got a lot of young corners. We have a lot of young talent on this defense, but I think it's going to take the corners out, maybe at least a couple of games or at least half the season to figure it out and really make this team soar like it truly can. This potential of the DB room is amazing. The defensive backs have the potential to be amazing, but I just think it's going to take them a couple games to figure it out. That's just how it goes in the NFL. Week 4 at Houston. They got rid of everybody. Like DeAndre Hopkins, basically was everybody. Still a pretty good team overall. Bill O'Brien, though, getting basically peanuts for DeAndre Hopkins, unacceptable. So I think the Vikings are going to take out a win at Houston in Week 4, putting them at 2-2. And then Week 5, we head into at Seattle, Sunday Night Football, at Seattle. This has been a tough thing. Like, the Vikings always travel to Seattle, where it's the 12th man. My uncle actually went to the game a couple of years ago, and he said it was just crazy. Like, the 12th man is for real. So I think actually the curse is going to come to an end, even though last year the Vikings were very close, and Kirk Cousins, despite a lot of scrutiny, almost led them back to winning that game against Seattle, a very good playoff team. And I think this is the year that they break it. This is the year that the Vikings beat Seattle at home on Sunday Night Football, prime time. Put it in. Week 6, Falcons. The Vikings have had the Falcons number for a long time. Even the first game of Adrian Peterson's career back in 2007, which is when I really started following the Vikings. Big win for the Vikings there, and ever since then, the Vikings have always seemed to have the Falcons number for the most part. There's been like 1 or 2 losses over the years, but very few losses there. But anyway, I have the Vikings losing to the Falcons as heading into their bye week in Week 7. And even though my dad and I always joke that the Vikings could even possibly lose to their bye week. Ugh. Anyway, and that puts the Vikings at 3-2 heading into their bye week. Then they go to Green Bay, Lambeau Field, at the Packers. I put this down as a loss. The Packers playing Lambeau Field is pretty tough, but I think the Packers are going to win the North this year. I think that's just how it's going to go. Even though they drafted Jordan Love, all that controversy, whatever. I think the Packers are going to be the team to beat in the North of this year. Week 9, Lions at home. I put this as a win. I was actually at the my very first game was the game that the Vikings were at home, Cousins' first year, and and Vikings had 10 sacks. Great game. Danielle Hunter had like 3 sacks. Like, that was like a coming out party for he had coming out party like way beyond that. But Danielle Hunter just blew up that game. Vikings had 10 sacks. Sheldon Richardson, man, it was so nice having an interior pass rush, was it not? And I mean, they killed it. That's what bringing me into the Vikings are going to win Week 9 against the Lions. Who I just feel sorry for Matt Stafford. I just feel like he deserves a lot more credit. He is actually a very respectable quarterback. Week 10 at Chicago, Monday Night Football. Vikings just can never play well at the Windy City for the most part. Like, it's other than the 2017, it's been really tough going to the Windy City and playing the Bears. And last year was no exception. I believe it was Week 4. It's just rough. Really tough time there. And honestly, I think that was the game that really made the Vikings realize that's what put them on their hot streak. Hey, we need to figure it out. And that's what Kirk Cousins went on to become the October Player of the Month or whatever. I mean, it was the NFC Player of the Month, and I think it was really impressive. Anyway, that's a loss. That's puts the Vikings at 4-4. And I believe the next week, Week 11. Cowboys at home, that's a loss. The Cowboys should have had our number last year, but somehow the Vikings squeaked it out. Hey, no complaints here. Eric Kendricks showing up, and Jaron Kearse, we're going to miss him a lot, showing up with a little bit of heroism between those two. Week 12 at the Panthers. Teddy. Oh, this is going to be a fun game. Danielle Hunter, Fadio Denbo, all those guys are going to be just so happy to go back against Teddy, and I think he's just a class act. Everybody loves Teddy. So that's going to be a fun game, even though I think the Vikings will squeak out a win there. We'll have to find a way to shut down Christian McCaffrey, but I think that's what the Vikings will do. Week 13 against the Jaguars. That's a win in my mind. Jaguars, they're an up-and-coming team, but I feel bad for them. A couple years ago they had it, and then they traded Jalen Ramsey, and I mean, just obviously they found out Blake Bortles wasn't the answer, and yeah, things kind of went downhill from there, but it is what it is. Week 14 at Tampa, another win here. This was a tough one for me because I feel like the Vikings going against Tampa, who now have Tom Brady, who might have Gronk, who might make a comeback, we don't know. I just feel like the Tampa is going to get really hot at first, lose a game or two in the second part of the season before they head into the playoffs. I do think Tampa is a playoff team. I don't know about Super Bowl team, but I definitely think a playoff team. And Tampa, I think, even though they're a playoff team, I think the Vikings will take care of business at Tampa Week 14. Week 15, Chicago at home. I think it's been a couple years since we beat the Chicago Bears, but it's coming. This is going to be the year the Vikings take care of Chicago, even though last year it was their twos. Like, it was our twos going against. I mean, that was the day that Mike Boone went off, and rightfully, the guy he's a good player, and I think he deserves a lot of respect. Which is again why I'm not so worried that Delvin is holding out, because the Vikings got some capable backs in Alexander Madison and Mike Boone. Anyway, not the point. Week 15, Chicago win, put it in the books. Now, Week 16 at New Orleans, that's a loss. Let's be real, Vikings fans. It's been we've had the Saints number for a while. It's been a lot of luck. The Minneapolis Miracle, and then last year we might not, who knows, gotten away with a push out there at the end. That's a controversy in itself, but we might have gotten away with it, and therefore we got the win. We went on to the play 49ers, and it was a loss. It's got to hurt as a Saints fan though to see the Vikings with the Minneapolis Miracle to go on to play the Eagles back in 2017, and then a couple years later against the Vikings, you lose to the Vikings, who go on to play the 49ers, and 49ers had their way with the Vikings. So it's got to be tough to be a Saints fan. Well, in a way. Anyway, Week 17 at Detroit. I put this as a loss. I feel like the Lions will close out the season strong, and the Vikings end the game on a 2-game losing, or end the season on a 2-game losing streak. And I think it's going to be tough. But it's one of those things where the Vikings were probably not going to make the playoffs anyway, just because we did lose quite a bit in terms of our defense and corners. Even though we still got quite a bit of talent, I don't think that it's enough. The draft was quite enough to make the Vikings still a playoff team. So my final prediction is the Vikings will go 8-8. They're just not good enough. I just feel like that the corners are going to be the major weak spot for the Vikings, even though they drafted Jeff Gladney in the first round and got Cameron Dantzler in the third. And Harrison Hand, I just don't think he's a starting corner at this point. So I think that it's going to take the Vikings at least a season or two to really figure out those corners. And trust me, I'm ecstatic not to have Xavier Rhodes, but to lose everybody else. Just lose everybody else. 3 of them. Trey Wayne's gone. Just everybody gone. So I think it's going to be tough things to kind of replace. And I think it's going to be one of the seasons that's almost to forget. I don't know, 500. I mean, you guys decide. But let us know what you guys think. This is my saying for the day. Vikings fans are taught to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. There we go. We got it. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. Did we get any of the games wrong? Are the Vikings going to be better off than a lot of people thought? Let us know.